Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Good morning. The battle lines are drawn, and this morning is no different, right, Ethan? We came into the studio, it wasn't even on air, and you started.
What are you talking about?
What exactly? There's my point. Exactly right there. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I'm talking about, like battle lines, paintball. Ethan Dettenmaier, who is. I actually just tweeted one of your faces, one of your producer faces out there, right into the ether. It was Ethan Dettenmaier.
Yeah, and the followers are racking up. Let's check it out. Let's see exactly what you've done to us.
I didn't do anything to you. Well, to us. It was Ethan Dettenmaier's producing face on Peace Fund Radio. Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning?
The face of a hardworking, underappreciated,
That's not what I tweeted.
Very zealous.
That's not what I tweeted.
Yeah, I know you didn't tweet any of that. I'm trying to correct the record.
So, yeah. Well, what have you been doing this week? That's enough.
Whoa. You know what I've been doing? I've been trying to help children in charity across the globe by getting a show ready that could broadcast all their needs, demands, and desires. That's what I've been doing. What have you been doing? That's right. You ran out of gas on the side of the highway. That's who my partner is. Right. While I was trying to be a modern-day Radio Gandhi, you were somewhere lost in traffic on your way to Corona. Yes, the same city the beer's named after.
Never, ever lost in traffic.
Yes, you were lost, my friend.
I was never lost.
Who is on the side of who over the age of 16 is on the side of the road calling AAA for gas?
I was not on the side of the road, actually. I just let you know. I was not on the side of the road.
That's okay. I'm glad they got to you and got you straight away, because I was busy working. I was trying to think, what kids cause, what children's hospitals, children's charities are we going to rescue this week? Let me get my notes together so I can deliver the best, biggest, broadest possible broadcast format for them on behalf of them and parents and everyone who's suffering across the globe. Yes, Radio Jesus, brother, that's me. That's what I was doing. Where were you? I'm asking you, where were you at?
Are you done?
No, I'm not done.
Are you done? Because now,
when it comes to talking about myself, I can go on all week.
We can go on all week.
Why stop? If you want to hear more about me, I'll tell you more about me.
Where I was this week? Where I was actually at the SC Village. And I actually ran out of gas.
Is that Santa's Village?
Is that not Santa's Village? Paintball. And all of you out there. I'm sorry, Ethan and I having,
Well, why don't you bring us up to speed? Because actually it is an exciting event. It's going to do a lot of good. So why don't you, in all honesty, in all seriousness,
we went out to SC Village to do a site recce to make sure that we've got all the pieces in place, and it's a huge place. It's a really very, very cool area. I actually got out there. Driving the car out there, it was fine. I drove to the second area that we.
How did the Mercedes take all the dirt bumps?
There was
not
that much. Yeah, it's not dirt bumps. It's actually
the Rolls handle it
paved road. Yeah, that's right. The Bentley.
Can I ask you though, in all honesty, since you did do a reconnaissance, what does the terrain look like? Like, what do we have to look forward to when we step on it?
Well, it's very varied. It's hugely
jungle,
varied. Well, you've got
mountains.
Jungle. You've got absolutely everything, and we're going to be using the majority of this park. We've got all the things are being set up right now, all the extra games that people can play, the challenges that we're setting up for people in different areas that you can actually have the sniper alley we're working on, the bunker hill where you can actually play against each other on a one-on-one basis, or cut two
Bunker
teams.
Hill was not a one-on-one fight.
Well, no, but Bunker Hill basically are blow-up bunkers. It's actually a paintball area. And there's two different things which I did not understand in paintball, is airsoft and paintball. And airsoft are slightly smaller pellets which are not filled with paint. They're actually, so there is an airsoft area, which is slightly small, and paintball area.
I didn't know that. So if you're an airsoft player, can you get involved with this, or do you have to change your gear?
No, gear is different, because if you want to go and play, because we actually do have, in the airsoft area, we will have, we're actually going to be doing Sniper Alley. We're talking about the pieces right now, where you have to go through this maze, 2 or 3 snipers, and take them out. You get to a certain position, and you get a rocket launcher, which is actually like a football with an arrow on the back of it. So you can actually fire it, and if you hit the area, you take out the sniper, and you have to do this in a time. The top 5 people win the prizes for the end of the day. So it's going to be kind of a fun. We're going to be doing all these types of events there too.
Now it's broken up into 2 days, right? But your pass gets you. It's essentially a 2-day pass.
2-day pass, yeah, 2-day pass, and
for those listening.
The first day basically is going to be all these types of games. You know, we're going to be having the celebrity and collegiate teams, the 12 teams with 5 men on each, to actually go against each other. And in the meantime, we're going to have all these other things going on, such as the trade show, such as the main sponsor event, such as the.
What is the main sponsor event? Can I ask?
Well,
do we know yet?
Right now, no. We're still working on that. So
where am I going to be?
You're going to be
At the
absolutely
hotel?
everywhere.
At the hotel bar?
You will be earning your paycheck.
I'm going to be like most war correspondents. I'm
You're
going to
be
be
like
out there
Gandhi.
for 15 minutes.
You'll be Gandhi.
Then
Gandhi
in
of the
that
radio
case, I will
waves.
walk through the battlefield unscathed, my friend.
Oh, well, you know, that's true. You actually, we'll put you right in the middle then.
I'll just be bringing peace to. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's right.
Well,
is there a price on your head? If like people
there's always
get
a
you,
price on the head.
do they earn extra money?
Well,
or?
actually, no. The way we've got different things. Ones are just going to be for bragging rights and things. Other ones that the celebrities are going to go through are actually going to be so that they can actually win money for the charity that they support. Now, we're also talking about, there's been a few celebrities that have talked about getting their own teams together. And you know, so we're actually thinking, and we was discussing this morning, of actually having matches set during the day, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, depending on how many celebrity teams we actually put together, or 5-man teams maybe, that they actually go at it and you guys can watch them. You can watch them, you know, and you can probably support or sponsor the team that you most likely think are going to win it. So we're going to be playing a lot of different games during the days, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's the first day. The second day is going to be the main area when you're going to have absolutely everybody with the 2 generals, Carrie Keegan and myself. And Carrie, by the way, you're going down.
Jeez.
She's all right. I'm sorry. I like to be a gentleman these days, but you know, when it comes to charities and money, that's where it's at. So, and then everybody gets on those days. That's the day when you try and win the grand prize, which is the trophy, and as well as earning money for the charities that these celebrities support by doing missions each hour or so during the day. So there's a lot of stuff that we're planning, and we're actually working on the sponsor packages this week. I'm actually going out this week to Ventura. There's a
run out of gas again.
Thank you very much. I might do, because I'm doing so much legwork on this. That we're actually going out to Ventura to. There's a huge professional paintball competition there that I'm meeting a lot of the main companies, the main paintball companies out there.
You going to get involved?
I will try, but you know,
how are you training for this? Are you like jogging? Are you doing like obstacle courses?
The thing is,
what are you doing?
Remember, I also have to actually deal with my family and my business, which is, you know, so I've got no time. I'm trying to get into training. I went swimming yesterday. That's it. No, I'm going
just
to
the
the gym.
fact that you laughed tells me it's not very impressive.
No, it's not. It's totally not. I mean, I actually haven't
you're
trained
in pretty
for 2
good
weeks.
Shape. You should be okay.
2 weeks. I was training before, so it's okay. I am in the training mode, but it's just having the time right now to do it. But anyway. We also got to talk about charities today, other charities. When we're talking about charities, we're talking about charities in today's society, which is very different probably than charities in the back. Most charities today tackle, you know, complex problems, very different variety of problems. Hunger, educating children, providing clean water, preserving the environment, curing diseases, blah, blah, blah. Then there's perhaps no harder problem than they meet, which is the very simple needs of the world's poorest people. But charities, you know, across the world I'm talking about, but charities actually, you know, there's a lot of them here in the US that do a huge difference. And I've met a lot of them this week. Actually, I was at a poker tournament this weekend, a charity poker tournament. Ask me what position I came. Go on, ask me how well I did.
Well, obviously you won. If you want
no,
to
I didn't.
Like
I came third.
If you want to set the stage,
listen, I came
like
third.
That, you obviously did very good.
You know,
wouldn't want to talk about it if you lost.
No,
Let's talk about all the poker tournaments that are unmentionable all year. So you managed to finally balance out your fiscal situation. Congratulations!
No, I didn't win anything
wow.
particularly. It was because it was a charity event for Love Across the Ocean.
Do you play poker like in that scene in Casino where they have like the transmission device in the dude's pants and he taps it?
No, sorry, I don't have any transmission devices.
You know, like, you know what I mean?
I just do ESP. You know, I try and think. Actually, it was really interesting. Sometimes, but you know what they say? Most poker players, a lot of good poker players, they play not the cards but the player, and it's a real psychological thing. And I did that a couple of times with a couple of players, and I won the hand because I kind of figured who they were. So most times it doesn't work, but this time actually did.
I don't play, so I don't even know how to play. I'm at a complete loss.
But talking about that, there were several actors there that did charity work. The event was put on by Lena Nguyen, who actually supports Love Across the Ocean. That's her charity. And I've had a lot of charities talk to me about how we can all get together, and we're putting together our Peace Fund hub very soon. We're actually now beginning to populate it, and inviting these charities to take part in a collective Facebook for charities that they can actually share information, because I think it's very important to share information between different charities, because you can't do it on your own. A lot of the time, some charities, they team up occasionally, but not that often. A lot of people are very proprietary with the funding, and it's not about funding, it's about resources. So people who benefit without being aware of the reach of this country's unique non-profit sector, visitors can enjoy a great urban park and never realise that charitable organisations are major contributors to gardens and playgrounds and paths and programmes. So a lot of the things that happen in your everyday life, you should look at who's actually contributing to these areas. Parents of children receiving polio shots may not know that one charitable group led the campaign to develop and distribute the vaccine, and another funded much of its development. And people may not remember that the air and water that surrounds them is far cleaner because of how non-profits have worked with government to reduce pollution. So non-profits don't just do things for kids specifically, they also work in general for a betterment of society.
Yeah, correct.
It's amazing. I came out with this stream of conscious thinking here, and
here we go.
And before I was being berated on a huge scale,
come on.
now that's all I get.
Let me tell
You're
you,
right.
listen, if you want to play the Saibaba angle, you can. But let me just tell you something. I mean, what do you want me to do? Want me to step all over your cause? Because I believe in it too, my friend. It's not a completely fascist bureaucracy on this side of the room.
No, I know. I'm just giving you some hard time this morning because I can.
I actually support your cause. In fact, I was thinking just now, how can I cut a PSA to serve for you and your game, and to help your charity outside of this show? And where can I play? That's what I was thinking.
You
just
see,
now.
this is
Those
what
are
I
the
like
things
about
I
you.
do.
You think out of the box.
Yeah, I'm trying to help, man. I'm actually trying to help. I may be, highly, highly unlikable in certain circles, but at the end of the day, I do try to help my friends.
No, but seriously, I mean, it is something this morning. I mean, we talk every week about specific charities, and we talk about education, and we talk about so many different areas of poverty or water. In actual fact, our poker tournament, we're partnering with Wells Bring Hope to actually fund at least 2 wells in one of the rural areas that they actually work under or work through. So water is a very big issue, because once people have water, they can do so many other things, and that seems to me to be such a basic human need that it's always strange to me when I hear people in Africa or people in rural or third world countries don't have the basic needs that we take for granted here.
Tragic.
Well, no, it really is. It's
Well, we've also highlighted a lot of organizations, in addition to your own, that have stepped in and tried to do something about that sincerely.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about what I talked about a little bit before about how we have charitable organizations that suddenly become commonplace and we take them for granted. One of the biggest ones is 911. Mm-hmm. The 911 response system was actually, it was a philanthropic institution. It started that, and we are associated with 911 for Kids, which is, I've done several speaking events for them, and I've attended their charity events, and they have, over the past 12, 15 years, grown to, provide public service messages to kids all over the nation in the proper use of 911, because that's a simple thing. 911 was created by a philanthropic institution, and we take it for granted today.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to call 911?
Yeah, but that's the issue. Try calling 911, and part of the reason you have problems calling 911 is because people use it wrongly.
I
People
agree
call
with
up
that.
and say, you know what, my plumbing's out, can you call the plumber over? And that's serious. That is actually a call that I've heard.
You're right. You did an excellent job of articulating that last time when Tim Brown, former Raider, hopefully Hall of Famer one day, was on talking about that very organization. You did a good job of highlighting the fact that people abuse 911, and then no one can get through with the real emergencies.
Exactly. So when you're talking about how can I get through, I mean, I actually spoke at the event that honoured a lot of the. What are you laughing at?
Well, I was just thinking of that.
I'm worried.
No. I'm just thinking of that Simpsons Secret Society episode where a Quimby goes, the real number is actually 912. Anyway, never mind.
Thank you for derailing me there.
I'm ashamed of how my mind works.
Yes, I am too.
But sometimes I just see everyone in animation and puppet form.
What do you see me as? Don't answer that. So anyway, I was at this event.
Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus.
Basically a giant puppet who kind of shows up and kind of disappears.
Oh, God, I have to deal with
Claims to be doing stuff that no one really can be sure what it actually is. And a very busy but it kind of confounding individual.
Thank you. That's true. Anyway,
I'm sorry. We're just kind of kicking around. People are going to probably think we're seriously going at it.
that gives numbers up, though. But seriously, I was at the 911 dispatchers awards ceremony, and a lot of the stories there were literally how people had used 911 correctly. But a lot of them had talked about how badly the calls that they get constantly, it ties up the lines for people to actually use correctly, and that's a shame. Talking about impact. Let's talk about impact charities have. Sometimes large charities, they provide vital services, and there's a lot of funding that flows through them, which I actually found when I saw, and this isn't even. I mean, maybe this is a huge amount, but when I went to see the Starkey Foundation, I actually was there with watching their fundraising event. It was a huge event with huge players attached to it, and the funding they raised that night was so impressive. I mean, that day alone raised $8.7 million. That day alone.
That's brilliant.
I mean, seriously, and operations of some of these charities are so large that the total giving in 2013, guess how much it was? Give a guess of how much total giving was in 2013. Give me a figure, and I'll give you. It's not in the millions.
$13 billion.
$335 billion.
Wow.
$335 billion was actually put into charitable organizations that provide a service to our communities. Now, we also at some point highlighted charities that were not necessarily doing what they said they were doing, and I'll come to that in another show because that really kind of ticks me off. But we'll bring them. That's another discussion. You also have to visit. There are different ways to actually look at this. The impact. Anyone doubting American charities had only to visit the Rockaways in Queens following Hurricane Sandy. Volunteers from all over the city and beyond, they basically descended upon devastated communities. They provided cash, supplies, assistance to those locals marooned in waterlogged homes without food or power. They were there to fill the void that governments sometimes, you've seen it. I mean, when we did the disaster in New Orleans, that was a response that was, okay, well, maybe we should send the troops. Maybe we should. These guys are there on the ground. This is where it's very important to find who's there and what they're doing. And this is why this show's here, is so that we can start highlighting a lot of these little charities that sometimes in certain areas are there on the ground so you guys know about them. And sometimes these plug the gap that governments, the government's sometimes plodding response to some of these issues, such as Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah, well, in Sandy, we were our own charity. We actually found people on the ground that were in waist-high water.
Correct.
That were illustrating the situation, and we got them cash because it was the only thing that was served. The only reason the 7-Eleven shops open their door for people to buy food on is if you had money in line, and the doors were locked until you showed it.
Right.
So we had to kind of, in tune to our personalities, almost be a little bit more dynamic than we typically would be. And we bought soup in a neighboring state and did things like that. But you're right. Sometimes you have to think outside the box.
You know what one volunteer actually said, who was coordinating the relief effort? He said, the government's doing its own thing. They must get things approved. We don't have time for that now.
No, of course not. That's what's ridiculous. But you know what? You would think that there was a quicker, more efficient emergency action method in place, and there just isn't. It's actually archaic.
Well, the thing is, there's so many different types of emergencies. You've got earthquake, you've got flood, you've got hurricane, you've got tornadoes, you've got all those. And so, and the United States is a big country.
Yeah, it's huge.
So, and again, it's governed.
And if
not
you
just
want to
by
count the 51st state of Canada, we're even bigger.
Is it 50? How many states in the United States? Is it 52? I'm joking.
England would be the 52nd state, my friend.
Well, if we want to go to that point, you actually are correct, since part of the IRS money goes to the King and Queen of England. You guys didn't know that, did you?
I knew that, unfortunately. That's why I'm rubbing my eyes with a migraine.
Yes. And that goes back to the Revolutionary Wars, all the way back when they did a deal that basically said, okay, we'll give you this, but you must give us a tax of, I don't know what the tax is, 0.5% of everybody's earnings in the United States.
And that deal didn't even really last 25 years, because we were fighting Britain again by 1812.
Why?
Because there was a war with you pompous imperialists.
You are such a...
That's the war where you guys burned our capital, where you burned Washington to the ground, including the White House.
It probably needed it.
I'm speechless because I'm not sure I can argue that point. I'm thinking about whether or not it.
Well, look at it. How beautiful it is now. It's probably only wood back then.
There actually is a block that they kept like a wing of it that was burned out as kind of like a memorial. Yes, as a reminder of how we got our ass kicked in that battle. Anyway,
do you know the interest? Let's go back to Hurricane Sandy for a second, because 10 days after the storm hit New York, the aid to the relief effort exceeded $116 million. So this is just some private companies and individuals, etc. That's what they did. It highlights basically how a charity, what role charities play in the social arena. We view ourselves as generous, and yes, Americans are probably one of the most generous individuals in the world. I mean, I've seen so many fantastic individuals giving here, and it doesn't happen in some countries because monies get misappropriated. But we mistrust, the government to help those in need. We still mistrust them. So
yeah, they've warranted the mistrust though, but that's another show.
Yeah, it's we pay less in tax as a share of our income than citizens of virtually every other rich economy in the world. But we contribute more to charity than citizens of any other country.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, I know you're technically an American now, right?
I am American.
You've got your paperwork.
I am. Yeah.
But your history lies within England and Italy, right? And I've seen you do more for charity than many Americans I know. So I don't know how nationalistic you can get about it. I mean, I've seen you work tirelessly with nothing in it for you. In all seriousness, if I'm going to insult you, I must also compliment you, correct?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I have been doing it. I mean, it's funny because that's my wife is like, you don't get a salary? I'm like, no.
No, that's a great conversation to have with your wife.
Well,
I've had that one too. Yeah, it's always fantastic.
But the thing is, as we get bigger, what I've noticed is, yes, that has happened, and a lot of smaller organizations do things on volunteer work. But you also have to understand that people have to live life. So these charities that actually have people on their board, who run it constantly. It's a 5-day or 6-day a week job for them, and it's a job. So you have to give them their salary to do that. I'm not into, there are some areas that if they can have a salary of $60,000 or $80,000 a year, if they're bringing in $8 million for that charity, then their salary is well worth it.
Of course,
that's part of the. But if they're only bringing in $250,000 and they're getting 80,000 of that to me is a very disproportionate amount of use of the funds that are being actually raised.
You're right.
So
But I mean, there's different reasons why Americans are as generous as they are. The population obviously is in the mathematics, but the tax code, and also, quite frankly, there's a level of generosity everywhere. I mean, to the people in Honduras who have the means, I'm sure there's quite a few generous people down there that just can't do anything.
True. Here's some statistics for you. The number of nonprofits in the U.S. are 1,409,430. The percentage of U.S. charitable giving that comes from individuals is 72%. From individuals. Percentage of the giving that comes from corporations is 6%. which to me seems, although I'm just wondering perhaps, well, I guess I'm not, it must be. The donors who want to know how their money will be used is 71%, and that's something I've always said. That's what we have to show people, is where's the money going? I want pictures, I want information, I want reports. You have to know that.
That brings me to my statistics. I've actually quoted the amount that you retain versus the amount you give because Westfield Mall, to be honest with you, when I was talking to them, having meetings about possibly getting involved with your paintball. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that very thing, that it's all visible, it's all transparent, and what is it, 96% of what you raise goes to the charity?
94, yeah, it's been 94.
So
right
you
now
retain
with this,
6 for administration. That's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it may go up a little bit, and we may have to lose some of that percentage because we are now having to spend money to bring money in, especially the paintball event is going to cost us money, but hopefully it's going to bring us a very large percentage of what we spend.
Right, and I think that's understandable. I mean, just the fact that you're operating with a 6% retainership, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the people that don't even give 6% of the 100% they raise. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's
it's
interesting.
embarrassing.
What's really funny is that the percentage of U.S. charitable giving that comes from corporations is 6%.
Of course. Fascist pigs. God.
No, you've got to say that
angry.
there are a lot of organizations that actually really do give it. And for those of you who remember, all charitable donations to charitable organizations are tax-free. They give you we give you tax rebates, especially when we're doing the paintball. If you go to the paintball, it is all for charity. So we will be looking at being able to give charitable contributions.
Ron's going to be busy.
To certain people. Yeah, I've got to talk to Ron about how that's set up.
Does he know he's going to have to basically set a booth up and start writing?
Well, Ron is actually going to be there, taking care of the financial portion of it. We do have a portion of that will go to expenses, but we will be looking at that area of it as well. Volunteers. Should we talk to John Beerley? I mean, John,
he's here.
I'm sure you've been listening to me rattle this morning, John. Have you?
I have.
He actually hung up several times in frustration.
Do you know how much? Do you know? I mean, this morning, Bev has given me an amazing amount of.
She always does.
Yeah, but to this morning, it's huge the amount of information that is here. I don't think I could do one show on it because there's just so many, so many things to talk about. Now, you're a volunteer, John. Why do you volunteer? Because, volunteers are really the backbone of non-profits.
Well, I think, first of all, when you get the call from Adrian Paul saying, John, will you help me help kids? The answer has got to be yes.
I wish everybody did that.
Yeah, that's not what I said.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't even really think about it. You just do it. I mean, this whole Hero of the Week thing that we do every week where we highlight these kids who do incredible things for other kids, it's always the most exciting and inspiring part of my week to be able to talk to these kids and learn about what they do, tell other people about what they do, and hope that somebody out there who hears that message will be inspired to find their own cause and start their own organization and do their own thing, and hearing all the incredible work that Ethan is up to. You follow Ethan on Twitter or his Combat Radio Facebook page. It's a constant stream of here's what we did for kids this week, and it's amazing to be a part of that, to be a part of something where that the message is good.
Ethan's really loving you at the moment.
It results in people having a meal or
Ethan's
getting a surgery.
John, Ethan's really loving you at the moment. He's got this smarmy look on his face. This is how he should prove it out.
Well, I did have that swarmy look on my face, but in addition to that,
that's the thing too. I mean, it's the same thing too with Adrian. I mean, you look at Adrian does. You work harder to promote children's causes sometimes than you do to promote yourself. And that's selfless and it's awesome.
Right.
And it's just one of those things where how could I not want to be involved in this? Are you kidding?
John, that the interesting thing about dedicated volunteers are really the daily heroes in American life, and volunteering in the US remains a strong factor in the fabric of the nation. It's not only just now, but it's across generations. There's a guy back in 1830. I want to mention this, and this is really interesting. I love this quote because he basically said, his name was Alexis de Tocqueville, and I'm sure he was French, so I'm going to do a French accent. These Americans are the most peculiar people in the world. You will not believe it when I tell you how they behave. In their local community, in their country, a citizen may conceive of some need that is not being met. What does he do? He goes across the street and discusses it with his neighbor. Then what happens? a committee comes into being and begins to function on behalf of the need. You won't believe this, but it's true. All of this is done by private citizens on their own initiative.
Hold on, I got the ambassador of France is tweeting me, asking me why the cast of Ratatouille is suddenly taking over the show.
But true, listen to that. I mean, really, you gotta think about it.
Yes, listen to that, people. Listen to that.
The guy was back in 1830, and he's saying, what happens? People actually say, look, this is not, well, let's get together and do something about it. And that's why volunteers are so important in the charitable organizations across this nation.
Right.
And speaking of volunteers, I would like to welcome Joellen Larich to the Peace Fund team. She just came on as our new Hero of the Week coordinator. We spoke to her last night and started working out some strategies on how to get the best out of our Hero of the Week segment. So Joellen, welcome to the Peace Fund. We're happy to have you on board.
Welcome, Joellen. Welcome. We actually have a lot of great people in so many places, and sometimes I look at the amount of stuff we've got going on, and I sometimes go, hopefully you know how much work you've actually put yourself in for, but we've put enough people in certain positions so that they hopefully don't get too stressed out, because that's what we saw was going to happen at the beginning of this year, that we were growing exponentially, and we need people in different positions. We need to do that so that we can function correctly and smoothly and not have speed bumps when we really need to move forward with certain initiatives. Talking to volunteers, 1 in 4 adults, 26.5%, volunteered through an organisation in 2012, demonstrating that volunteering is an important activity for millions of you out there. Although 64.5 million Americans volunteered nearly 7.9 billion hours last year. I'm just going to let that sit for a second. 7.9 billion hours, you guys, volunteered. That means no pay. And that's why I think it's very important. However, as we've said earlier in the show, there are certain costs that need to be met. But charitable organizations such as the Peace Fund, such as all the organizations we deal with, cannot survive solely on contributions. They need the volunteers to help them do the day-to-day running of that the organization, and we couldn't survive without you. So I want to thank you for being there. And that's just U.S. volunteers. Volunteers, they're critical throughout the world, and it's you sometimes call it informal volunteering, where citizens volunteer in community activities or provide personal care for family and friends and neighbours or strangers as part of an accepted cultural norms of giving a reciprocity. I want to ask you guys out there, have you volunteered for anything this year? And I'm not talking about a fun. Think about it. This is a challenge for you. Have any of you done anything? And I'm sure many, many of you have. But maybe you haven't. Maybe you go, oh, it takes too much time. Oh, I don't. But I'm not talking about going to an organisation. Help your neighbour. Help your friend. Volunteer to move them out of their house. You're still volunteering.
Move your neighbor out of their house.
No, not your friend, I said. You missed the bit in between. Certain things like that, the impact is huge. Doesn't matter your skill level. It basically, there are different ways to do that, and there are so many complex issues like hunger, education, healthcare, and the environment that need your help.
I got a cool moment supporting that. Are we talking about the year going back annually to January, or are we going to talking about the last fiscal year?
Well, whichever. It doesn't matter. It's a January, even this year.
A cool moment for me was when you showed up here with a bunch of stuff for social services, without saying you had it or anything. And we went over to social services right after the broadcast, dropped it off, and got involved with the walkthrough. And while we were there, and Fitzgerald showed up out of nowhere.
We
didn't even know.
That's right.
Yeah, we had no idea she was going to be there, and she had brought a whole bunch of stuff too. And we all ended up on the property at the same moment, same day, and that was kind of a cool little moment.
That's a simple way of being able to volunteer. Every community in this country has an area that you can donate either clothes or food or something. Go to your pantry, see how many extra things you've got sitting in there that have been sitting there for a while. Perhaps they're in cans, not the bread that's moldy or whatever, but certain things you could donate that you might not like. My wife does it a lot of the time. She buys 3 of things, and then we leave 2 of them in the thing because we don't like the taste of it. So I'm sure you've got stuff there that you could volunteer, or clothes, or baby stuff, any of that stuff. That's a simple way of volunteering.
Your family's really good about that, I have to admit.
Well, John, what do you think?
Yes.
I'm babbling.
You're babbling. Well, that's okay. You're babbling about good stuff. We actually have our Hero of the Week segment today. We have a hero who is actually going to be calling in.
Go ahead. Oh, let's do it. Let's get there
with some information.
Who's our hero, John?
Back on our February 5th show, we told you all about Heroes of the Week, Gabrielle and Camille Fassard from Encinitas, California. Camille produced and directed an award-winning documentary about hunger and hardship among senior citizens, veterans, military families, and children called 1 in 7, The New Face of Hunger. And upon seeing her sister's documentary, Gabrielle was inspired to create an organization called Donate, Don't Dump, which you can read about at donatedontdump.net. Every month, they collect more than 20,000 pounds of surplus and short-dated food that otherwise would end up in a landfill and distribute it to families in need. As they close in on 1 million pounds of rescued food, Gabrielle has vowed to engage, empower, and inspire youth to alleviate hunger and help the environment. Now, she's done that by mobilizing a massive volunteer base, and she's going to join us on the phone to tell us how she did it.
Are we calling her, or is she calling us?
We are calling her.
We're going to call her. Okay, so I just want to, since we're talking about volunteers, Gabrielle started this organization when?
2011.
2011. Well, we'll talk to her in a second. We're just reaching out to her right now. How did you get in contact with her, John?
I actually through their website, through the donatedontdump.net website, just filled out their contact form, let her know that we were very proud of the work that she was doing, and we would love to talk to her about it on the show.
Okay,
so
we're getting her now.
She's so hopefully very busy, so we're very, very grateful to her for giving us her time this morning.
Let's see if we get her.
Hello.
Hello, is this Gabrielle?
Yes, it is.
Hi. Good morning. This is Adrian, Paul, and Ethan Dettenmaier from Peace Farm Radio. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So John Beerley, who I think you've spoken to before, has been telling us, about the Donate Don't Dump organization that you founded.
Uh-huh.
And you were, how old were you when you started it?
I started this back when I was 12, and I'm now 17.
17 now, so you've been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, it's been going. Keeps on growing.
It keeps going. No, I've been doing mine for a while, and it seems to grow. Your sister, I saw your sister actually made a documentary when you discovered the statistics of poverty among the young and old. What were the most surprising things you learned about hunger from that documentary?
Yeah, so with the documentary, what happened is I was hearing all the statistics that came with the research for the documentary, and so the two statistics that really jumped out at me were the 96 billion pounds of food, billion pounds that's wasted every year, and then also the statistic that now 1 in 5 Americans are food insecure. So the fact that there's so much waste with such a demand for that food, it just seemed like two puzzle pieces that weren't being put together, and the documentary just kind of let me know what was going on, and that's kind of how it all got started.
How did you focus on surplus and short-dated food as a way to help?
How did I focus? Sorry, focus on what?
On surplus and short-dated food as a way to help.
Well, so when I found out that there was such a huge amount of food waste, I first off was thinking this can't just be from people who don't finish their meals. And so I found out that a huge part of where all the food waste comes from is from grocery stores who, after the products reach their sell-by date, they can no longer sell the food. And so what a lot of places do is they just toss it away. But the thing is that when food or meal reaches its sell-by date, it's still good for about another week. It's properly refrigerated and everything. So they can't sell it anymore, but if you can get that food donated, then it can be redistributed out to people who can't afford their groceries.
It's funny because I was actually talking before you came on the show about how people can actually donate food to their local areas that they actually keep in their own cupboards that are not necessarily out of date. They might be in cans that can be donated. And I know that on your website, you've got some very troubling numbers, the amount of food we waste each year. I mean, what was the most shocking thing you learned when you started doing your research?
The most shocking thing was the number of places that weren't donating. Because the thing about food rescue is that there's not really a downside to it because, for instance, for the grocery stores, they're saving money on dumpster fees, and they're also getting a tax write-off. And then there's also the PR aspect of, hey, this company is doing good and donating their food to people who are hungry. Then obviously it's helping people who can't afford their groceries because they can get healthy meals without having to go and spend however much money at Whole Foods or whatever. So it's helping people, it's helping the businesses. And then another really surprising thing for me is that it actually helps the environment. Because with all this wasted food, you think about what it takes to get that food to the grocery store. It's wasting water, it's wasting, it's just so much resources that go into the packaging and getting the food on its shelf. So if we can reduce the amount of waste all around, we're helping the environment, we're taking food out of the landfills, and helping people at the same time.
What's the biggest challenges in getting your organization off the ground? What were they?
I'd say the biggest challenge was that I'm very stubborn, but I started
you're like me.
the
That's
organization
good.
when I was 12. So I kind of just walked myself into this adult business world expecting to kind of automatically get people to respond to what I was trying to start. And when you're a 12-year-old attending, like, city, county meetings, sometimes people have the tendency to kind of just be like, oh, you know, that's cute that you want to do something. So I think definitely the biggest challenge is being so young on it, but at the same time, it's kind of pushed me to keep on pursuing and keep on spreading the message and fighting hunger. It's actually funny because legally I'm not allowed to be the president of Donate Don't Dump just because I am a minor, and so my official title of Donate Don't Dump now has to be the Big Cheese.
Well, it's good,
awesome.
It's good you actually use a food anagram, basically.
That's better anyway.
Yeah, I like the Big Cheese. I think I want to be the Big Cheese.
Yeah, who needs the president? He's not a Big Cheese.
Yeah, I think that'd be actually. You know what? I'm going to ask my organisation to change the names on some of our people. Listen, we've been talking about volunteers this morning. At what point did you realise you're going to need volunteers, and how did you recruit them?
Well, this started really small. Like, I was just 12 and I had this idea when I was at lunch with my family. So from the start of it, I reached out to friends of mine, and I think when they heard how passionate I was about the topic, and the topic is, or the issue is something that people can easily respond to because no one likes the idea of just throwing away food and not helping people. So what I did is I talked to a couple of my friends. We started a Facebook page, and from there it just kind of snowballed. So I kept on going, and then it's now gone to the point where people are emailing me asking how we can help out and if I need any volunteers. And of course, that's a huge, huge help because Donate Don't Dump is entirely volunteer run.
So you've got different chapters in different places. I mean, how do you, you know, how many volunteers and how many chapters do you currently have?
We currently have between 15 and 20 chapters, and those are at different high schools, universities, youth groups. And people, I mean, it's hard to get a head count on it, but I'd say around 4,000.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, it's... And I see that you've got a cheat sheet for volunteers who want to start their own chapter. What are the tips about those?
Yeah, so with the cheat sheet, I thought I'd just help out because, like I said, I was getting emails of people who wanted to get involved. And I think sometimes when you're taking on a huge issue like hunger, it can seem kind of daunting. And so I wanted to make it really easy because it's not this super difficult. You're going to spend your entire life doing this. So I just listed down, and it's a simple step-by-step, basically, of what you can do to start your own Donate, Don't Dump chapter. And so it goes along the lines of finding just a small group, 5 to 10 people who are willing to volunteer and get involved with Donate, Don't Dump. We ask that you guys meet once a month, do simple fundraisers, and then just spread the message, because even if you're just becoming aware of what the problem is, you're helping. So,
why do you think it's important to empower young people to make a difference?
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on about this one,
don't. I've only got 5 minutes.
I think that for young people, a lot of the time, we're kind of told that you can try and do something, but you're not going to accomplish anything real. I feel like a lot of the time, like when people say you're graduating high school, or you're really entering the real world then. So I just feel like there's this mental block that kids can't go out. They can't actually make a difference. And with Donate, Don't Dump, I've seen firsthand that no matter the age, I have 7-year-olds who are volunteering at the food distributions, and they are making a difference physically. And you can see the results. And I just think it's so important for people as young as you can to find what you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be Donate, Don't Dump, but whatever it is your passion, find it and pursue it, because it's just healthy.
Well, I think you are doing an amazing job. To be honest, I brought this issue up to certain people before. Wasting food to me is such a crime, because there are so many needy people in this world that cannot afford food, and there's so much thrown and wasted. So I'm so glad that you have an organization, or we have an organization like yours, that is doing something to alleviate some of that problem. Gabrielle, thank you for joining us today, and we'll have all your information up on the site. But you are definitely, I'm glad to see that you're a Peace Fund hero, because I think it's important to have somebody like you dealing with an issue that is so important to so many people.
No, thank you so much. It's just totally awesome. I love doing this.
Well, good. It's good that you have a passion. I hope you keep your passion, and I hope you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Nice to talk to you, Gabrielle.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, volunteering, as you can tell, is important for a lot of smaller organizations, and as Gabrielle showed, I think it's the heart of so many smaller funded charities that are out there. John, we have probably 2 minutes left of the show. Do you have anything else for us while we're moving? Before I start going to my last tirade of the day.
Yes, well, as always, everybody check us out on the web, vpeacefund.org. We have coming up this weekend the David Fry Memorial Golf Tournament. You can find some information on where that's held, how you can get involved, and the extremely important cause that it will be supporting this year with the Peace Fund. Follow Adrian at AdrianPaul1. Follow Ethan at Combat Radio. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, The Peace Fund and Peace Fund Radio, to find out about all the things we're doing. And having seen some of the emails that are going back and forth about some of the upcoming events and things that are currently in motion, it's a very exciting time to be following us, and of course, special thanks to our incredible new social media team, Nancy and Jim and their team, who are just burning it up on the social media, and we're just absolutely lucky to have them out there working hard for us.
Well, yes, there is also, Nancy, and again, they're all volunteers. They're doing a great job, and they will be joining also Colin Pelton, who's actually our other social media guru, and helping us with our publicity company that is pushing everything for us for Peace Fund and Peace Fund Games. The Peace Fund Games will be coming November 8th and 9th. Be there or be square. I can't believe I just said that. But John, thank you for all the work. I hope now that we can actually get a really good structure and new website as I've been saying for the past 8 months, is coming. But we've encountered some issues. But I do have a structure of it right now. It looks good. We'll hopefully be getting that to you very soon, and we will be populating with all the great stuff that we've got going on, so we can keep the information going out there. We need your help. We need your support. We need your volunteering for us as well. So, John, thank you for coming out there. Thank you to all of you that have volunteered to the Peace Fund. Thank you for even to Ethan Dettenmaier, even to Ethan, who is here in the studio with me each week, putting out stuff.
And that takes tolerance,
that
my
takes
friend.
Tolerance. But you know what? To be totally honest,
that takes a will of steel, as Kim Jong-un would say.
Thank you for that quote. But in all seriousness, yes, we are very excited about what's happening. Thank you to the Speechley family that makes this show possible. And in closing, a quote by Elizabeth Andrew: "Volunteers do not necessarily have the time; they just have the heart." I hope you guys do too. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier. We'll talk to you next week.
Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.